What's up, Pro Flippers? On today's episode, we have a special treat. We are so excited to talk to Julie with Casa Chic. And we're very excited to just learn a little bit more about her business and how she makes this flipping income full time. And just, yeah, it's going to be so much fun to talk to us. Julie, thanks for jumping on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm a big fan of you guys.
Awesome. I love following you on Instagram. It's really fun. I think one of my favorite things, I was just telling him a little bit about it, is you're very real and very like cut to the chase. Like this, like I don't
No
know,
fluff,
just
no
really
fluff.
good tips. And it's I love that. So
Well, I'm a lawyer. I started my life as a lawyer, so I'm very blunt.
yes, I love that.
We need more of that in this world.
Sometimes that's not
Absolutely.
good, but
That's all right. I personally am attracted, like my friends and like people that I have stayed connected with are people that are, just tell me how it is. Don't sugarcoat it. Let me know, because I can only improve if you really tell me, for real.
right.
Yeah,
Anyways.
you always said,
No.
yeah, Melissa always said she came from horseback riding and she'd have coaches that would fluff stuff and try to give you the best part. And she's like, I can't learn unless you tell me what I did wrong and how to fix it. So yeah, we totally get that. And that's awesome about you, that you're no fluff and you give it how it is. We absolutely love it.
Very cool and very good tips too. So definitely, at the end we'll tell people where to follow you, but you definitely have to go follow her on Instagram. So give us a little background. How did you get started in this whole reselling business and kind of where you're selling?
Okay, so I was a trial lawyer and my husband was a stockbroker, and I really loved being a trial lawyer, but it was very labor intensive. I was busy all the time. And I had a baby and we had a live-in nanny. And then I had another baby, and on the first day of working back at work after 2 3-month maternity leave. So I had a baby, they gave me 3 months paid maternity leave. I had another baby. So in 2 years, I took almost 6 months of paid maternity leave. On my first day back from work, we caught the nanny in a terrible lie. And I freaked out. I was like, how can I leave my babies with strangers? So I took what I thought was going to be a sabbatical or like unpaid leave to just figure out what, maybe when the kids got in preschool, I could go back to work or something. We went from 2 incomes to one. And which was horrible. And I had these little babies, and I thought, I am not having any more kids because my little one didn't sleep. I had a toddler. So I started selling my maternity clothes, and the office I worked for was very formal. So I had to wear suits every single day. So I had these really nice suits, and I didn't know what to do with them. I didn't know any pregnant lawyers, and they were really too expensive and too nice to just drop off at the Goodwill. So someone, and I wish I knew who, because they really did start my trajectory in a totally different direction, told me, sell them on eBay. Now this was 24 years ago. So eBay was brand new. I didn't know what it was. I figured it out, and everything sold. Back then, everything, you just auctioned it and it sold within a week. So everything sold for all this money. And I was like, what else is in my house? So I started just going through my closets and dealing with these two babies, but here and there, just selling stuff. And then in the fall, so that was like in the spring. In the fall, I made some mom friends. I'm at the playground. And the night before, I had sold a handbag out of my own closet for $300. And I told my girlfriends, and they were like, oh my God, I'm giving you stuff. So they started giving me stuff, and I started a consignment business. I had never been in a consignment store. I had never dealt with secondhand stuff before. And I made enough money, and my business grew totally through word of mouth. I made enough money that I didn't have to go back to law. My husband was keeping the roof over our head, but it was a lot of extra money, and it really helped us. And so fast forward to now, my kids one just graduated law school. The other one is finishing his MBA, and I do law very part-time. I have a consulting business, but I've been reselling this whole time, and it's been such a great way to work part-time, bring in a full-time income, and not have to. It was great because I was a full-time, all-in PTA, front of the carpool line parent like you guys are, but still working when I wanted to, when I could, growing a business. And it's just been a really great ride.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
There's not many people that can say they've been on eBay for that long. Like there's, there's
Oh,
all these resellers out there because you started too back when they started,
Yeah.
and it's a long time that they've been around.
It is, and you know how the changes have come apart. Just like you said, it was a 7-day auction, a 10-day auction that came with a little bit after that, and you listed something and it sold, and that's how you sold it. It wasn't the buy it now prices. Then they moved into buy it nows along with bidding, and you had to buy it now if you wanted to. So yeah, we've seen the growth of eBay into where they are now. It's crazy how different it is compared to years and years
Did
ago.
you get paid by check? Was that the same?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Money orders would come in the mail.
Yes.
I think
And so
people,
it was easier then, but it was much harder then because
Yeah.
you had to wait in line at the post office and you had
Yep.
to either have a really expensive digital camera. I would take photos with my little like camera and go to
Yep.
Walgreens and scan the photos at home. I mean, it was a lot more work. It's easier now than ever to be a reseller. You have everything right here. You can run a whole business from your phone and you could do research from your phone, and but it's harder too.
Yeah.
But the business, yeah, I don't have to tell you, the business reselling changes. It's changed even since the pandemic. It's changed a lot. So adapting is really part of the longevity of the whole thing.
Absolutely. I want to pick apart something on your story as well. So you started doing this, you said, on consignment stuff. So you have friends who saw what you were doing. They brought you stuff. Tell a little bit more kind of how that has morphed into where you are now. And also, what kind of stuff were you selling for your friends?
Well, I'm like the opposite of you guys because I think we have the same type of business. I'm in Florida, you're in Florida. We're both resellers. If we both help resellers grow their businesses. So if our resume line would be the same there, but while you guys see ambulance stretchers and think, "Oh, where's the forklift?" My rule was always people would ask me to sell furniture and stuff. And I'm like, if I can't carry it and put it in the back of my car, I'm not interested. So I'm a fashion reseller in general. I'll
Okay.
sell other things, but I've been a fashion reseller. So when I started my consignment business, I had so much business. And people would really clean out their closets that were full of stuff for years and years and years. And then they would give me smaller amounts. So usually that first consignment was huge. And then every 6 months they'd give me a bag of stuff or whatever. So when my kids were like in elementary school and I had more time, I needed more work. So I started thrifting. I had never been in a thrift store. I'm not a garage sales shopper or anything like that. And I realized that my knowledge that I had learned from all the consignment really translated well. And so my business currently is a hybrid of consignment and thrifting. So it's the thrifting obviously has better margins, but the consignment is such a efficient way to get inventory. I go to somebody's house and I'm in and out in 5 minutes and I get sometimes carloads full of really good, clean, authentic, great stuff. Where thrifting, you could go all week and not find that amount of stuff.
I
So
love it.
that's a
it's
good
been a
balance.
really good balance.
So did you already say a percentage is it like 50-50 or?
Yeah, I do 50-50.
Okay.
Nice, nice.
But also like the percentage of your business being consignment versus being the thrifting, like is it?
Depends.
It
It
depends.
depends on the month.
Okay. Yeah, that's for sure.
During the summer, I had 2 clients that were moving and like gave multiple carloads full of clothes and stuff. And so like during the summer, I was probably a little heavier on consignment, but I love to thrift. Thrifting's really fun too. So it depends on the month.
Yeah.
Cool.
You had mentioned just a little bit ago too. I'm going to go back. We're probably going to go back and forth a little bit. That's okay. Just because you say stuff, it makes us think of stuff. But you had mentioned like, even since the pandemic, things have changed. What would you have seen? How have you seen things change? Because we are like you said, we're doing the same thing, but we have different business models really. So
Right.
like what are some changes you've seen over the last couple of years?
Well, I think with the economy and with the good thing is the pandemic made everyone of all ages be even more comfortable buying online.
True, for sure.
So people like my parents and my in-laws are in their 80s and they now shop for groceries online and things like that they would have never done, and they buy a lot more stuff online. And with the supply chain issues and everything like that, people really got even more into buying clothes and things online and discovering eBay or Poshmark. I sell on eBay and Poshmark. But with the economy, and I don't have to tell you, you have a bunch of little kids, your grocery bill probably doubled in the past couple of years, and it's harder. So you have to adapt and be buying in the fashion world. I'm still selling more than ever. My sales are better than ever. 2023 was my most profitable year. 2024 is raging right now. My sales are great. And it's what I'm selling. 100% of what I'm selling. I'm not selling anything anybody needs. I'm not selling anything you can buy on Amazon. I'm not selling anything you can buy at Target. I'm buying things that people want and that people with disposable income will pay for.
Nice.
And that's the difference. And I think a lot of resellers who jumped into reselling during 2020, people were buying anything. You could put, a bag of Oreos and somebody would buy it. And now, because people are holding on to their money tight, or they just can't afford to, pay their bills, which is horrible, you really have to target a different audience than maybe what you were targeting in 2020. Whereas in your business, it may be better because maybe somebody who wouldn't buy a used stove will now.
Right.
But I'm selling something you don't need.
Yeah.
So,
I love that point, because that also comes against people. A lot of times people are like, well, nobody's buying anything because the economy is bad. But that's not a blanket. You can't say that blanket statement for everybody. That's not like, because things are higher cost. There's a lot of people who can still afford them. So
go on vacation. Try to book a vacation now. Everything is booked and it's expensive.
Yeah.
And so people are still spending money, and people still have money to spend. Not everybody.
Right.
And you don't want to target the people who can't, who are struggling to just feed their kids, because they're not going to buy from me. They don't want my stuff. They don't want to pay what I want for my stuff. So
I was even telling him the other day, we walked downtown, and our downtown has lots of little shops and lots of, restaurants and nice and whatnot. And it was jam packed. I was like, you can't say that nobody's spending money, because look at all these people, like they're everywhere. So
no, I'm in South Florida, and it's packed here this winter.
Yeah.
Packed. And I mean, this is my view. There's yachts, billion-dollar yachts going by. So there's still people, and some of the wealthy people I know have surprised me in the past few years because they've discovered secondhand shopping. And these are people that would have never even thought about it. And it's not necessarily because they can't afford to go to the mall. It's just the mall sucks now. There's nothing really to buy there. And the stores the quality of the clothes are terrible now. They don't have a lot of stuff. And you have to go to, they realize you can go on eBay and type in your shoe size and the shoes you want and get them. And so I've been shocked by some of the people that I know that I'm surprised are like, oh, have you heard of the Real? Or, oh, have you? And I'm like, yeah, okay, it's been around a while, but that's what I think, that's who my market is.
Yeah. Are you finding people also who are buying some of your stuff? So it sounds like you have the higher quality items. Are some of the things that were, because in our stuff, like some of the old, say we sell appliances or whatever, the older ones are built so much better. Is that the same in fashion? Like I know there's fast fashion right now, which is a whole different thing, but like in the stuff that are they better made, or, if they're?
I think probably yes. And, I don't just sell high-end stuff. I sell the model I teach is buy things for $3 to $5 and sell them for $30 to $50. You have an easy $20 or more profit in them. Sell 5 things a day. You're making $36,000 a year in profit. Easy peasy, part-time, on the side. You want to make 100,000, sell 15 things with $20 profit. Those things are easy to find and easy to sell. So, if you take your kids out for burgers, you're spending $100. So spending $50 on a top isn't that hard. It's not that hard to click buy it now.
Right.
So a lot of the things I'm selling are really cute, nice things, but it's not, the Gucci and the Prada are very small percentage of my sales. Actually, it's the my bread and butter is not $10. I don't want to sell stuff for $10. I don't want to, as a lawyer, I know what my time is worth. And so I'm always asking myself, is this worth my time? So I think the quality of stuff, it's just, I'm selling stuff they can't find anywhere else, or
Yeah.
it's hard to find anywhere else.
Yeah.
Love it.
And we're very big on your time is money.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
value time, which is
It's
why we do the higher value items for sure. I love that.
right. It's important because if you're working 10 hours and you sell 10 things for $10 profit in them, you might as well go get a job at Target and get the insurance. I mean, honestly, there's plenty of, if you're working 100 hours a week, you should probably be a real estate broker or a stockbroker or something,
Right.
something that you don't need to go to college for. You can make a good career. If you're going to work 100 hours a week, I want you to be making 7 figures, so
Right.
managing your time and making sure you're not wasting your time is super important.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, what is when you got on Poshmark, did you start when Poshmark first started? Like, did you kind
No.
of jump in? No. How'd you get started on Poshmark? And are you,
I wish I would have gotten started on Poshmark sooner. I was always on eBay. I have 2 eBay stores. They've always done well. I've always been able to consistently. So for 6 years, I had a separate business. I had a retail store in a mall, and then I got one in the airport, and then I got another mall. So I had this retail business, and I dialed down my eBay for a while. This was when my kids were really little, like 5 and 7 years old. And I did that for 5 or 6 years with my husband. And I just dialed back up the eBay when we decided to get out of that business. And it was like within a couple of months, I was right back to making full-time income on eBay. And so I never felt the need to look at anything
Right.
else. But then I kept hearing about Poshmark. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll start listing stuff. And now my Poshmark sales sometimes beat my eBay sales.
Wow.
So I'm like, it just depends on the month.
yeah,
That's
So
cool.
I love Poshmark.
that's awesome. Do you find probably they're the same because people complain about Poshmark and they complain about eBay and so there's always gonna be something that you don't love about them, but like they've been pretty easy to work with.
No, Poshmark is terrible. They're a terrible platform. Their customer service is horrible. So you can be selling a lot. I don't really give numbers, but I sell a lot of stuff on Poshmark and you can't get anybody on the phone. They don't know who I am. They don't care. I feel like it's just one big party. However, the Poshmark shipping is so easy because everything under 5 pounds ships for $8. So you can sell
Oh.
something heavy and the buyer has 3 days. And if the buyer accepts it within 3 days or doesn't accept, unless they open a case, it's gone. But eBay, I mean, I've partnered with eBay on projects. eBay, I know people that work at eBay. There's actually people there and they're really amazing. And, once in a while you get a bad eBay buyer, but I always say, if I was going to buy something, I would buy it on eBay because as a buyer, if you don't get what you ordered, it's it's like Amazon. It's no problem. And so without the buyers, you don't have sellers. So while we love to complain as sellers when eBay allows a scammy buyer or something, which is really, really a small percentage, it's still a great place to buy. So that makes it a great place to sell in the long run.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I've only barely tried Poshmark, but then like I get into doing some clothes and then I started with the kids stuff and then I was like, I don't know, I need to learn more about it. I do find it interesting though, if you get into it. So, and cross posting on them too, for sure.
But I feel the same way about eBay. Back in the day, eBay was the wild, wild west. You didn't know what was going on. You didn't know what was accepted. It was like one of those things you grew with it. But now they're trying to protect both the buyer, the seller. It's a hard place to be in, but they're trying to do the right thing for the most part when it comes to these type of sales. And we deal with big sales. I mean, we're dealing with $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 single sales. And when you deal with that kind of stuff, some people are really nervous to go to that. And they're like, well, what if somebody has 30 days that say they don't want that anymore? How do you deal with a return? And you shipped a pallet and it's like, for the most part, when we're selling the larger items, people want what we're selling and we're under promising, over delivering. So they're getting a really good deal on it. But eBay ultimately is there to protect both. And that's what they do now. And I think they do a pretty good job of it right now.
I agree. I think it is a hard place to be in because there's some bad sellers. I bought something last week I always have bad luck. I bought something on eBay. My husband needed a headset for work. My husband's not a reseller. He's in corporate America. He needed a headset and I ordered one on eBay and it said new in package and it came like in a Ziploc bag. And I was like, this doesn't look like new in package. And I was like, my husband's like, it works. It's okay. But honestly, that's not a good seller.
No.
Right.
So, but on Poshmark, when there's a case, you have to argue like a lawyer. So I got something on Poshmark a couple of years ago and it said new with tags and it wasn't new with tags. It had like the Goodwill tag on it. And I wanted it new with tags and I paid for it. And like I had to argue back and forth with the seller on Poshmark before they would send me a return late. It was a very hassle-filled experience. And so as a seller, that's great because you can win a case. As a buyer, I wouldn't buy something big on Poshmark for worry that I would be stuck with it. So
Yeah.
No,
Interesting.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And you are a lawyer, so that does help you.
Yeah.
help you a little
argue.
bit. That does help. Do you sell on any other platforms other than Poshmark and eBay?
I have sold on a lot of platforms. I do sell on Macari, and I'm
Mhm.
sort of analyzing, is it worth my time? Because it's very inconsistent. But then the stuff that I sell on there sells for really good money. So, and it's not that big of a deal to cross post. I've given up on Etsy for now, and I have tried Amazon, but that Amazon business model just wasn't what I wanted to do because I do work part-time. I make a full-time income, but reselling is only one of my 3 things that I do. So Amazon wasn't for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. We've thought about doing Amazon for a long time, but never really. I don't know. Every time we hear a friend doing it, and it's like, oh, that sounds great, and it's like, no, there's a lot more stuff involved with it.
They're very small. They
Yeah.
love to show the numbers like,
Yes.
ooh, I sold $100,000. And you're like, and I kept $3.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it's really, the profit margins are very narrow and the running around and all of that doesn't sound so fun to
Yeah.
me.
No.
No, I'm sure there's some people have done it really well, but there was a post just the other day that I
About
read
that.
to you. They had 100,000 for the month, and by the end of the day, they were like in the red $6,000. Like I was like, that
It
doesn't
does
seem
not
like
sound like a good viable business when that happens.
Like,
Yeah, $100,000, you should not be losing 6,000 when you're making 100,000.
So anyway,
It's
that's not
scary.
everybody,
No, it's
obviously,
not,
but
yeah.
people have figured
No,
it
but
out.
I know. I've heard a lot of horror stories about it.
Wow.
No,
So
if
what-
I sell $100,000, I want to keep a lot of it.
Yes, us too.
No, I love your business. Like what you say you tell people is, if you're going to spend $5 or $10, you want to be making like 50, something like $40, $50, like because it is worth your time then. And we totally agree with that. We're not in it to make $5. Like
No.
that is just not worth your time. You got to list it. You got to ship it, like not worth your time. So
Absolutely.
anyways, yeah. Is there a tip or something you would give to somebody who has thought about getting into this flipping gig, reselling gig that you would like to tell everybody?
Well, I think don't just watch social media and it's not easy. So I love reselling. I think it's a great business. It's fun. And it's really fun when you go treasure hunting and you find something great. It's so much fun. And when you sell something, it's really fun and great. But in between, it's a business and you always need to think of it like a business. You have to analyze it like a business. I don't have a business degree. I was an English major. I went to law school. My husband's the business guy. He went to business school, but I do know that you need to analyze your business all the time. And you can't just, I think a lot of resellers think it's so fun, and it's fun as a hobby. If it's your hobby and you're doing it just for fun, you go to the flea market, you sell something, you're like, oh, this is fun. But you have to be disciplined and you have to be consistent. And I think if you're going to start out, you should sell stuff in your own house first, obviously. But then if you're thinking, oh, what do I want to get into? And then you might see my content and be like, oh, I want to do fashion. I want to be like her. But you don't really care about fashion or it all looks the same to you. You should pick something you like. So if you like bicycles or I always say golf is a good one. So we live in Florida. Every thrift store you go in has a bunch of golf clubs and probably a bunch of golf shirts. That all looks the same to me. But if you're a golfer or you want to learn about golf, you could make a whole business out of that in Florida. You could just go to thrift stores and garage sales and flea markets and buy golf clubs and learn which ones are worth picking up and which ones aren't. And you could probably build a really good business that way. So focus on what you're interested in and become a pro at it. And I think that's really important, because sometimes maybe people will see your content and be like, I want to, do all these big things. I want to sell, refrigerators, but they really don't know what they're doing. That could get ugly really quick.
Gotta start where you're at.
Absolutely, absolutely. Such great advice. And yeah, we try to tell people that as well, is what you're passionate about. Because you can do this business just like you said. You can do anything to make money, but it really, it's in sync when you're doing something that you enjoy, something that you're interested in, versus something that you're just doing it to make a paycheck. So I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, that's such a great advice to give to anybody who's looking to do this as a side hustle, or even go full time into it.
Would you recommend somebody starting out doing consignment? Like, how do they get started in consignment?
Consignment is such a great way to add inventory to your reselling business. So if you have a basic knowledge of reselling and you start, just tell everyone, tell your hairdresser, tell your next door neighbor, tell the teachers in your school, you'd be amazed. They don't have to live in mansions. You'd be amazed at what everyone has too much stuff and no one knows what's to do with it. And most people don't have the time, energy, inclination to put it online. So it's a great way of getting inventory without paying for it up front. So it helps your cash flow in your business. So if you're thrifting and you do a little consignment, you're adding inventory to your business, but you don't pay for it till it sells. And it's efficient. Like I said, I pick up a carload of stuff for as long as it takes me to drive across the street to pick it up and put it in my car, versus running around to a million different thrift stores. In addition, I'm really good, and I'm not saying this like in a cocky way, I'm really good at sourcing fashion. I know what sells and what doesn't. And most of that knowledge originally came from my consignment clients, because they would give me stuff and I learned what sells instantly, what sells for hundreds of dollars, what is absolutely never going to sell and not worth my time. So I've learned new brands, new styles, and I still do, because my consignment clients, a lot of them give me stuff that is very recent, because they buy something and they don't wear it and they're like, oh, I can make a few dollars. They're happy to get it out of their closet. So I still learn from my consignment clients. So it's such a good way, and it's way easier than you think, because everyone has stuff, and then somebody's moving, or somebody's moving their parents, or somebody's just renovating. There's a lot of stuff out there, and people are happy to just get a few dollars for their stuff.
Yeah. Do you ever have people that you've told, maybe not now because now you have relationships, but like starting out, that you tell people that, ask them if they are interested in getting, consignment and making a little bit, and then they're like, just take it, you can have it.
I not too often, but my mom, who is 83, who's going to be 83, she was an eBay seller too. We started eBay, not working together, but at the same time, because she saw what I was doing. And she's actually not really doing eBay now, but up till a couple of years ago, she's much nicer than I am. She's very nice to people. She brings them soup when they're sick, and she's just a social butterfly. And her whole business for probably during the pandemic was people not only giving it to her, but dropping it off to her and saying, oh, you're so nice, I don't want any money for it. So she had this great little pandemic business from free inventory. But people will give you, when I was moving out of my own house, I moved here like 6 years ago, and we had lived in my house that I raised my kids in for 20 years. And even with me selling everything, and even with me, I thought I was giving a lot of stuff away. When we went to move, the amount of stuff coming out of my house was overwhelming. And so I was just giving it away. Like, anyone want it, I'm putting it on Facebook Marketplace. I didn't want to sell it. I just, especially when you're moving, you want it out. And so people will give you free stuff for sure.
Do you sell some on Marketplace or no?
I've tried it. It's not for me.
Yeah.
I don't want to meet anybody. I don't want to go and meet anybody in person.
I was just curious if you did like the shipping, the whole, because now that they
tried it, it was really not. The reason eBay is great is I know what to do, and I know I will have consistent sales. My eBay sales are, year after year, but month after month, I know what money's going to come in. The minimum amount of money is going to come in on eBay. Facebook Marketplace just was really hard to do that.
It's hit
So
or
it
miss.
didn't seem worth my time at all. Lots of questions and
Yeah. Tire kickers,
Yeah.
not really gonna
yeah.
pull the trigger. And do you have anybody else working with you, or are you doing like you get the stuff, you list it, and it's just you?
I'm a one-man band.
That's
And I
awesome.
always have been, and I always want to be. When I did have my retail stores, that I consider that like my MBA. So my husband and I had these 3 retail stores. We were going to grow to 6. And we thought if we have 6 of these stores, we're going to be set for life, right? And it was a really great business when it was great. 2008 hit, the recession hit, and it was we felt it in our business. The malls were empty. Even the airport, which you would think shooting fish in a barrel, it wasn't as good. So we decided to get out of it. My husband decided to go back in corporate America, but I learned that I don't like to manage people at all because we had to have employees. The airport was open 365 days a year at 6 in the morning. And we would get the call at 5 in the morning. Oh, my babysitter didn't show up. And, I would have to get dressed and drive to the Miami airport. Like, I don't want to deal with it. And so I'm sure I could grow more if I wanted to with employees, but I don't, I
Less stress.
rather
Stress-free.
focus on
Yeah.
better inventory.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
A lot less stress. We even
Absolutely.
had one of our members talk to us about like instead of going up in management, like his next step was the next step up in management to get a raise. He used reselling to, take that stress off. So it's like, no, I'm just gonna go do my job, come home and make my extra money this way, and I don't have to deal with the stress. So it makes
Right.
it makes a
does.
lot of sense to
And
not
it's
have
good to
stress.
diversify if you're
Yeah.
in corporate America too. Well, I think that a lot of resellers, I've seen a lot of resellers do that and get into trouble. So I know a lot of, I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
After being in this business so long, I met a lot of people, and some of them are like, oh, I'm making, X amount of dollars by myself. If I add 2 employees, I'll triple the income. So they get a warehouse and they get a lot of inventory, and then they need to buy inventory and liquidation. And you have to pay those employees regardless of your sales. They're not working on commission or contingency. And so all of a sudden they've got all these bills. I work out of my second bedroom, which is the bedroom when my kids come home, and I have a little storage unit. And keeping your
That's
expenses low is always a good business decision.
for
So,
sure. I love that.
I always,
Absolutely.
No,
yeah.
yeah, I think that's a great way to do business. So,
Absolutely.
well, where can everybody go and find you? Where's some of the best place to follow you on the internet?
I'm at Casa Chic store on Instagram. It's Casa Chic _store. And I'm on TikTok. Shop
Awesome.
Casa Chic. But I've been posting a tip of the day on Instagram for like, I don't know, 8 years, 7 or 8 years. And I've made so many good Instagram friends. So that's the best place to find
Yeah.
me.
We'll definitely
it.
we'll put the links below in the show notes
Great.
too. Yeah, Instagram's my favorite. I don't know, it's just nice. It seems like a good environment. It's fun. People are nice. So
Yeah.
yeah. I like it.
Awesome. Well, Julie, thanks for
Yeah.
jumping on here with us. We
Thank
greatly
you so much.
appreciate
I'm
you.
so glad to meet you guys.
You
Thanks so
too.
much.
It's so much fun. I didn't even know you're in Florida, but I love the canal that's right behind your house. Watching
That's
the yachts go by.
intercoastal.
Oh,
That's
I love it.
I'm in Fort Lauderdale. Yeah.
Love it. That is awesome watching those big boats. I'm a boat guy. I love boats. I've had boats my whole life, so that's just making me
too.
drool while I'm here talking to you.
You want to go check out all the boats, huh?
Absolutely. But we greatly appreciate all that you bring to the reselling world. Appreciate your time that you spent with us,
Go
giving us some
follow her
tips.
on Instagram and TikTok for sure.
Absolutely. You are awesome. Thank you so much again for spending some time with us.
Thank you so much, you guys. You're the best.